Pecha Kucha 53, Daily Sketch in Manga Studio Pro. So last week, me and the Mystic Moor, we kind of decided we were going to do some regular sketch work, to stay in practice and to help motivate each other. So we did that this week, and literally just in the Discord, just get a reference picture, set a arbitrary time limit. It's usually not long enough, so like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes. Dump the image in the stream, then you do your best attempt with like a basic brush, and then you just post it in. So like certain just kind of is setting the themes, and the first one was like Street Fighter, and it was some old art, I think possibly from the 90s. The more I look at these kind of pictures, the more I realize the proportions aren't what I think they are. So this was a kind of a crazy start. So I'm just using like a basic pixel brush, even more pronounced with Sagat and Vega. These are kind of heavily stylized, and maybe I'd argue even overpainted, but that's not really relevant when you're just trying to get the basic shapes. Like the foreshortening of his knee is so extreme, it's just crazy, right? So this one was nuts because it was the idea that you need to draw these thumbnails, but you need to draw them all on the same canvas. So scale was so incredibly complicated that it kind of made it impossible to deal with the detail. And yeah, this was one of my first selections, which is like an image that's kind of quite softly painted and makes it quite difficult to quickly render just using like one line weight. But I do love me a good picture of geese, and this is probably the best one I saw. So yeah, I grabbed, because we had a Street Fighter theme, I went and grabbed a picture of Raul Julia from the movie. So bad, not his fault. Yeah, and it's like doing stuff like this kind of reminds me, I can draw, and just because I kind of suck getting the final line, I can still create the shapes and the forms needed to get somewhat decent accuracy. 15 or 20 minutes to draw a highly painted picture of Nobunaga is just asking for trouble. But this is the joy of doing something as crazy as this. You're never going to achieve perfection, so it's about figuring out how much you can get away with in the time you've got. Yeah, like a tightly painted picture of a woman, a manga woman with the eyes. It's like a lot of these you don't have times to do the faces. You kind of have to get a rough likeness. This pose is quite awkward as well because her like center of balance isn't quite where you think it is. And even something that looks as kind of arbitrarily simple as manga is when you're the guy trying to replicate what the other guy did, and he didn't spend as long trying to get the hair right as he did because he just put spikes anywhere, and you're trying to do what he did. It's interesting, yeah. So I went off the deep end and got a full painted picture of Guan Yu on horseback on red hair, and like Certain was saying, it's not particularly contrasty. It's difficult to figure out how to kind of make things pop. But just the challenge of trying to render these things. I mean, this is really what this is about. Improving eye coordination, hand coordination, all these things. Like this 3D model of Ocelot with a massive gun in the foreground. It's a lot to do, and I think this is one of these 15-minute, 20-minute time slots, and I grabbed another 3D render straight out of the game. It's a bit too pixelated for, and it's somehow just a picture of a guy, his upper torso. I don't know why this was so difficult to draw. I think because it's pixelated and because it's from a game. It's just not got lines you can accurately follow. And then I feel like this is a guy from Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics. But yeah, an example of something that seemed arbitrarily simple, a simple manga drawing, but am I going to tone it to get his dark clothes? Not so much. Right, so I got Manga Studio Pro, and it's got all kinds of shortcut things that should speed up making comics, like, you could just make panels super quick. It's got like pre-rendered action lines and like leaves and stuff that are like a brush, and you just swirl it around and you get all these things. So there's an awful lot of time-saving things. So I just thought, you know, screw it, screw tutorials. Let's just get in, let's mess around. It's got pencils and all kinds of stuff. So I just thought, let's draw some old characters of mine I haven't drawn in way too long, and let's just see. Because the thing that they're going to be in is going to be like manga-ish, so this makes perfect sense, you know. So that was the pencils. This is the ink. Actually, the pencils were probably a little bit better, but you know, on the guy in the middle, but on the guy on the right, the pen level really helped because I had to make decisions on how he should look, and I never really figured out how he should look. You know, like the G pen is pretty awesome. It's just that using a tablet kind of still screws with my accuracy. So there's an awful lot of color options, and the first one I picked on was literally the equivalent of Copic markers. So I kind of stopped looking at the other stuff pretty quick because I was just like, wow, Copic markers on like a hotkey, that's crazy. So, you know, and the text options are a little bit. I'd prefer to use InDesign or Photoshop, I think, for this, but you know, it seems like most of the tools are there, but yeah, again, like I said, I've only been using this for like a couple of hours, so you know, I will look at tutorials to figure things out, like the text boxes. So what do I need to do next week? Well, I think really it's time to get serious about putting stuff out and building a little name for myself, sorting out my Patreons. So what I got to do first is figure out what is my core purpose, and you know, Manga Studio really kind of underlines this because, you know, Manga Studio is great if all I want to do is make comics. But if I want to make movies and I want to make books, you know, I probably want something like Premiere Pro and something like InDesign. So once I figured out what my core is, which will just have to be super prioritized in the month of October, where do I go for what I need? Once I figured out what I need, then I literally have to get the stuff, and then I have to just put one foot in front of the other and just dip my toes in the water, you know, get that Twitter going, get that Instagram going, because, you know, the job center is just faffing me about, and I'm faffing them about. So it's I just need to start getting into the process. Just like the, you know, the Pecha Kucha series, I regularly upload YouTube videos, even though it's not real content. I just need to start trying to generate that interest in the Patreons and stuff, even if it's not going to, like, say, buy the second house, lol, or the first. So that's what I need to do for this week, going into next week. That brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 53, and I will see you next time.